Yeah. Okay. Are you a Guy Fieri guy?
Yeah. I've come around on Guy Fieri because there's been that like Guy Fieri renaissance sort of.
But it's a very long renaissance.
Dude, he took a long road to redemption. He took a very long road to redemption.
But is it a road to redemption? Was he ever up at a point?
In our mind, yes. In Guy Fieri's mind, he's been on the same road for 20 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the community of people who watch Guy Fieri were like, I don't know this guy is like kind of wacky and weird and dumb and stupid. And then there was like one Reddit post one day that was like, all he does is support local businesses and travel around the country and show you good food. And we were all like, oh yeah. And now he's back, I think, in our hearts. But he's been living his life for 20 years uninterrupted.
He's changed nothing.
Nothing. If he gave a shit what anyone thought, the Frosted Tips would have gone out in whenever Smash Mouth stopped playing music festivals. Like that would have been gone so long ago, and he's just still doing it. Like I don't think he ever missed a beat. He's just going for it.
He's just right. Do you think he owns 50 red Mustangs, or it's one red Mustang around the country?
I feel like the red Mustang is almost too classy for it to be his car. Do you know what I mean?
Interesting.
Like I think he owns a bunch of like.
What do you think he actually owns?
Like converted Broncos, something like that. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure red Mustang makes sense, but that feels like it's a show thing.
You know what he probably has? You know those? What are they like? They're like glorified go-karts.
Yeah.
You'll see like 50 like middle-aged black guys fly down Broadway on them on a Saturday night. What are they?
I don't know. Those like dirt trucks that you just randomly see on the highway.
But like, dude, you couldn't take that off-roading. Like, it's specifically for going down Broadway at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's specifically for just like almost killing someone on Broadway.
And you need to have LED lights going around.
Oh, if it's not glowing purple on the bottom of your like semi-dirt car, it doesn't count as a semi-dirt car.
No.
He definitely has about 18 of those, and then I bet he has his like Pinto from when he was 16.
Still has
that
it,
and he's like, this is Firebird, never let her go. Like that kind of shit. Like he definitely still has that.
He
somewhere.
says he works on it, but he doesn't work on it.
He's never worked on it.
Technical skills.
Because he can't bring himself to. It's the car he came up in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's where I don't even know what, because Guy Fieri to me is so associated with like Limp Bizkit and like Smash Mouth, like that era of music. But that's not when he was young. You know what I mean? Like
that's when he was coming up.
That's what he was. He maybe influenced, but there's no way that was the foundation of his personality. That was just like he was peanut butter and jelly came along, and he was like, oh wow, this is perfect. But like I don't know what he was listening to in like 1984.
No, he was definitely a ska guy.
You think he was a ska guy?
I 100% think he was a ska guy.
That makes a lot of sense.
Because he's more Smash Mouth than Limp Bizkit.
He is more Smash Mouth than Limp Bizkit. That is, dude. He's like friends with the guys from Smash Mouth. He's like he's like introduced them on stage at concerts and stuff.
Are you fucking with me? Or
no, I'm not fucking with you at all. That's just the universe being like, this needs to make sense, and it does.
Got it.
He's literally friends with the guys from Smash Mouth.
That is the closest Venn diagram I've ever seen in my life.
The greatest thing.
It's exclusively
it's not a Venn diagram.
the
That's
it's just a circle.
that's not a Venn diagram at all. Dude, there was a video of him at the Rage Against the Machine concert like recently, and it was the greatest thing in the world. He's just like ripping a cigar and like fully into Rage Against the Machine. Which I guess is also in the Guy Fieri Venn diagram.
Well, when you wear that many leather wristlets.
Yeah, when you somehow have found a way to still find those sunglasses from like the 90s, those like fucking like rectangular kind of like almost the guy from X-Men sunglasses that he has all the time.
That are exclusively sold at 7-Elevens.
That are only sold in like roadside truck stops and an occasional Hudson News if you could find it.
And the only people that wear them are Guy Fieri and autistic teens.
Autistic teens and autistic cops.
They love thick-rimmed, cheap sunglasses.
Like, the ones that get thicker as they get closer to the ear.
Yeah, what is that doing? It hurts.
Nice.
Doesn't it hurt your temples?
But it's stable. There's a level of practicality. It's like it's a totally different type of person, but it's like the sunglasses that have the rope around the back of the head. They're like frat guy sunglasses.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Which I get. Like, practically, that makes sense. You take them off, they're just on your neck again. I just don't want to look like my dad caused the housing crisis, so I don't wear them. But, like, practically, they make sense.
That's an amazing notification
you
just had there. Was that I've never seen an autistic teen fumble with their glasses?
Never once, dude.
No,
those things are locked on.
They are painted on.
They are fucking locked on.
They might be stapled on.
Dude, there is no sun glare in the world that is going to make them miss that train. They are seeing it as it passes every single time.
Well, you know, you can't have them not stare into the sun, so they got to be on there.
You've never seen those glasses fumble at all. They're dude, he was at the Rage Against the Machine concert, fucking like headbanging, not moving an inch.
They couldn't move.
They can't move.
No.
Because you have fucking 2 logs attached to your ear, and then they just keep them there. Whereas the rest of us are wearing, like, we do the opposite. It's the thin thing to the ear and then the big rim.
You know how the Chinese...
Where are you going with this?
Follow me along here, Jack. Jack, follow me along. The Chinese, they do feet binding for women.
Yeah.
Do you think Americans do sunglass binding for Guy Fieri and autistic teens?
Well, it didn't thin his head out at all. Like he fucking,
yeah, that's true. He's got a big
still
fucking head.
Rectangular as hell. But there's something about it. There's something about like a Bob's, like an outfit you got at Bob's and like those sunglasses. That just kind of makes sense.
I never knew Bob's was a department store until like 5 years ago.
Really?
I thought it was a computer store for a very long time.
Have you ever been in a Bob's?
I've never been in. Just seen them from the outside.
No, see, we had a Bob's right near my house, and it was a go-to. It's like
really,
yeah, it's like a place like when you're in middle school to get like cheap khakis and then also a knockoff Led Zeppelin T-shirt. Is like what Bob's is.
Oh, that's what Bob's is.
Bob's has like a lot of like name brand pants that are pretty cheap, so you can get like Levi's at Bob's and all that kind of shit. And then their T-shirt section. T-shirt. I don't know what I just said, but their T-shirt section, at least in New Jersey, was just like old class, like Guns N' Roses T-shirts, Led Zeppelin T-shirts.
Well, they knew their demo.
Yeah, just Elmo with a baseball. It like varies in that. Like a Target T-shirt section is kind of what.
Are we talking like? Is it like Marshalls?
See, I don't have a lot of experience with Marshalls. I gotta be honest. It reminds me of like I imagine. Yeah.
Okay.
They seem like they're kind of the same thing. It's kind of they seem like 2 companies that would be owned by the same parent.
Are the Finnegans a department store family?
Oh, we were a hardcore department store
really?
family. Where do you think I was shopping? We're not going anywhere. We were a big Macy's family. Big.
Oh, money. Okay.
Is that money?
Macy's? Back when we were growing up, there was money.
All right. I grew up near this mall. It's called the Short Hills Mall. And it's like internationally, it's the richest fucking mall in America. Okay. I grew up in a weird area where like, I think Long Island, New Jersey are like similar.
They're very similar.
They're in that like, I grew up like a mile from like one of the poorest towns in the country and a mile from one of the richest towns in the country. Like
wild how it works like that. Yes.
And Short Hills is one of the richest towns in the country, and they have this mall called the Short Hills Mall. So we would go to that Macy's only because it was close. This is a mall where they're like selling BMWs, and you can get like
in the Macy's,
in the mall, not in the Macy's.
Wait, they sold BMWs in the mall?
In the mall.
That's pretty garbage.
It's rich garbage.
That is rich.
It's
garbage.
like Rich meets New Jersey, and then they're
the
Short Hills Mall, and
yeah.
that's what you have. It's new money.
What do you mean they're selling BMWs
like,
in the mall?
There's a BMW when you would walk through the Short Hills Mall. There's a BMW parked in it, like in the middle of it, surrounded by like
I know what you're
ropes.
talking about. Okay,
and I guess I don't know if they're selling it, but like it was definitely up for something. It wasn't there for decoration. It was there for like auction. We were not going to that part of the mall. Is the point?
Was it a white BMW or a black BMW?
In my recollection, it was a black BMW.
Okay. If it was a white BMW, I'd say it might have been the Arab guy that works at the mall kiosk next to it.
The guy selling it was just how the guy who sold cell phone cases got to work.
Yeah, that's just where he parked. Yeah. He just parked in the mall.
But at the Short Hills Mall, there were like there were like stores that sold like paintings, and then there were like normal stores. So as the Finnegans, we would go to the Short Hills Mall because it was the closest, but you could only go to the poor parts of the mall. So if you go to the Macy's in the Short Hills Mall, there's the really rich section, and then you go to the back discount corner, and that's where the Finnegans
I know exactly
live.
what you're talking about.
And that's where like the brand, like there's a Levi's pants on top of like a whatever the fuck, a Tommy Bahamas polo that someone had there. Yes. It's like it's where all the pants and shit are mixed up. You know what I mean? That department store pile. Where you go in and you just kind of eye for a pair of pants that kind of looks like your size, but it's not going to be.
It's where they took things from the fitting room, brought them out, but didn't want to put it back to where they belonged.
When rich people toss the clothes that didn't fit them into just a pile, that's where I come in and get a discount.
That's where the
that's where you buy summer clothes in October. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like those are the moves you have to make. Yeah. Like you want a new bathing suit? Get ready for like a January bathing suit. Because you're gonna get like a nice cheap bathing suit.
You're doing a lot of free agency picks.
You're doing a lot of free agency picks. It was a lot of Macy's, and then we were a big Gap family. I'll be honest. I don't know if that counts as department store, but we were a big Gap family.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because the Happles didn't really shop at Gap or Old Navy.
Really?
What's the difference?
They're owned by the same company.
No, they're not.
I really think that's true. I'm not. Maybe I'm making that up.
It sounds
right. I know Banana Republic and Gap are owned by the same company. Is that
a fact?
Because Banana Republic is like rich Gap. Like Banana Republic.
Is that really true?
That's 100% true. I know that Gap and Banana Republic are owned by the same company.
Interesting.
I think Gap and Old Navy, maybe I'm making that up, but they are so fucking similar. Old Navy is a little more...
Old Navy's more... I was going to say more garbage, but I don't know if that's true.
It is. I was going to say it's a little cheaper and a little more garbage.
I honestly can't tell the difference.
I can tell the difference only because I grew up in those two stores. So like,
is it a material feel?
It is a material feel because Old Navy pants, Gap pants feel like pants. Old Navy pants feel like a crafts project that someone put together. You know what I mean?
Yes.
We got a lot of khakis at Old Navy's. Because Old Navy has a very large khaki section. So, like,
of course.
You put on 10 pounds between 5th and 7th grade and you're going to a christening, headed to Old Navy and find yourself a pair of khakis. Gap kind of lasted into high school when, like, I don't know if you had this, but I went through a little bit of a button-down phase in high school because I had no idea how to dress
college,
myself.
like freshman, sophomore year of college. Big button-down phase.
Really?
We talk about this with Hardy. We went into great detail on button.
Into the button-down phase?
If you would like to go down the button-down route, we could go down
I had an experience. My thing was... I grew up in a town, so my best friend grew up in another town. He grew up in the house next to me, and then he moved when he was 4. So he grew up in another town that was way richer than my town.
Gotcha.
So I knew his town, and I knew my town, and I knew no other towns because I was 15.
In America.
Okay. I was 15. I had hung out in 2 towns. I had been to his town and my town. His town was all button down. My town was all like hardcore Italian Guido Affliction T-shirt Ed Hardy. So I only thought...
We're talking V-necks also included in there?
In the Ed Hardy?
In that crew?
Yeah. There are some very, very deep black V's going on there.
Gotcha.
If that's the class, that's the dinner wear, is the V-neck.
That's the formal wear.
So
go to a wedding.
In my head, when I was like 15, you could only dress 2 ways. It was Ed Hardy or button down. And I leaned button down because I couldn't do Ed. I could not do the Ed Hardy. No. So I leaned a little preppy until I got to college and realized, oh, you're allowed to dress other ways. But, like, those were the only 2 styles in my head.
Okay.
Until, like, 18 because of those 2 towns.
Yes.
So that was my button-down phase. That was a lot of, like, club room at Macy's on discount.
That's fine.
That kind of shit. It's fine.
But Macy's is all right.
Macy's is okay.
You weren't Kohl's people.
We could fuck with Kohl's.
You did Kohl's.
All of those. There was none of those that were outside of the, like, that was all in play. All of that.
See, with the Happles, it was Kohl's was it.
You had brand loyalty with the department stores?
You can't just go to Macy's and here's one thing with the Happles. We like cheap.
Yeah.
But we won't work for it. Does that make sense?
No, not really. Wait, in between Kohl's and so, like, are you loyal to, like, a Kohl's over a Marshall's?
So here's the difference between Kohl's and Marshall's. And I'm glad you brought this up.
Yeah.
Kohl's, you walk in, here's the Hawk section, Tony Hawk's clothing brand line. Here's the swimwear section. They had a brand. They had some stuff going on.
Here's the Will.i.am brand.
No.
There was some of those in 2006.
There were a few of those, but that wasn't like Hillary Duff had for Forever 21. That was for the girls. Even though Forever 21's a little bit nicer than Kohl's, which I was trans for a year in high school. So here's the thing.
You looked great in low rise jeans, by the way.
I just couldn't do the makeup.
I know, but the way your thumbs hooked into the belt loops and just pulled them down a little bit, that was nice.
Yeah, in hindsight, I shouldn't have got those back dimple piercings, but because you can't get them out. No one told me.
They're still there.
Yeah, they're still there and irritated. But when you go, and I think because I've been to the Gap a handful of times.
Yeah.
Well, Gap's not really similar. We're going to stick with Kohl's.
Sure.
You walk in, you know where everything is. You know where the jeans are. You know where the button-downs are. You know where the V-necks are. Here's the thing with Marshalls. It doesn't work like that. You got to dig through to find the deals.
And you're literally digging.
You are like
scooping up clothes and digging.
You bring your hard hat and your lunch pail, and you're going to work.
You bring a metal detector, and you fucking find what you're looking for.
So that's why we never went to Marshall's, is because it requires effort.
So you're putting Kohl's above Marshall's inherently in that argument. You're
saying
Kohl's is a more organized establishment.
That's 1,000% what we do. Yeah. That's the argument
fair.
there.
That makes.
That's why we went to Kohl's so often. You got Marshall's prices, and you might not have gotten Marshall's quality.
Yeah.
But you didn't have to work.
See, that is my favorite thing about entering like a well-organized department store is you can shop by color. Like you walk into a room and you see like a beige fade into a blue, fade into another blue, and you can tell what clothes are what.
Yep.
And you know where to go. It's like being a bird migrating. You just like see the colors and you know exactly.
Go towards warmth.
Yeah, exactly. You just like you go like, I'm looking for khakis. I'm going to go towards that beige corner, and then you'll eventually find them. I keep bringing up khakis, but I wore a lot of khakis.
Well, I can tell the amount of times you brought up khakis.
And it's funny because now I don't think I've worn khakis or a button-down shirt. Like, it's embarrassing as a 28-year-old man how few button-down shirts I own.
I don't think so. I think you're doing all right.
I think I'm doing fine. It's just that I think I own them, but I just grew out of all of them, and there has not been an occasion where I need a button-down shirt.
Well, I mean, what's the occasion you would need one for? A wedding or a funeral? Queen?
I went to a wedding a month ago where I had to borrow a suit because I wasn't.
Wait, what?
I had to do that.
You had to borrow a suit?
More unique. Well, because I went to Lebanon with my friend's family.
Hold the phone.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It means my friend's family is Lebanese. His parents are from Lebanon.
Okay.
And in July, he was like, "We're going to Lebanon in August. You want to come?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah, I want to come. Absolutely."
What kind of relationship do you have with this family?
I grew up with him. He's like one of my best friends.
You just go to Lebanon.
Yeah, and they're from there. So like when you go there, we like went to his dad's like village and like stayed with his family and stuff, and it was awesome. But there was a wedding going. We were going to a wedding when we were there. And I assumed I could buy. I didn't have a suit because I had a suit pre-pandemic, but that was before like 2 years of Trader Joe's orange chicken and whiskey. So like that suit does not fit me even close anymore. And I didn't have time to buy a new suit, so I was like, I'll just buy a suit when I get there. And we just couldn't make that work. So I borrowed his like uncle's suit. And I borrowed a suit to go to a wedding.
You borrowed a middle-aged Lebanese man's suit?
Yeah.
What? And
it kind of fit. It wasn't bad.
And honestly,
I mean, it was.
Did you feel like Cinderella?
With the pants. The pants felt like genie pants. Like the shirt actually fit me perfectly.
Wow.
The pants were really like 90s suit loose. You know what I mean?
Oh, you had a real Bernie
like,
Mac
you know how,
suit going on.
You know how like suits now are like slim fit and like they look like jeans.
Is his uncle a black comic in the 90s?
His uncle's a Def Jam comic from Lebanon, actually. But like, I mean, it was really, really kind. It was so kind of them to give me the suit. But
what was weird was the wedding happened in a Atlanta church, which was the weirdest thing.
It happened to Gotham, actually. Gotham location. No, it was super kind of them to give me a suit, but I did feel very embarrassed. Like, I'm a 28-year-old man who just doesn't have a suit. Like, man, I've fallen kind of far from when I was 18 and all I wore was button-downs and khakis. But I don't know. It works. If you're not in Lebanon without a suit, it hasn't been a problem in my life.
How many fezzes were at this wedding?
No fezzes. It's not a fez. It's not a fez. It's a very, like... Before I went, like, every white person in my life was like, what's it gonna like shaking hands with ISIS? And then you go there and it's like, that's not at all what it is. Like,
no, it's not ISIS.
No, but it's like everyone was like very like, I don't know, it's just like a very there's no, I don't know how to explain it. Like it's a very modern country that has a lot of problems, but like it's very, 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 it's Western in a lot of ways. Like everyone's just wearing suits. I've been to places where people, like I went to an Indian wedding like in March and
here.
No, that was in Mexico. I've been going.
Hold the phone. What?
Yeah,
an Indian wedding in Mexico? Did they have to import the elephants?
No, dude. That wedding was nuts. That wedding was 4 days, and we calculated it. They probably spent like $1 million on it. Like,
so
over
how are you involved with?
That was when I was with my ex.
Okay.
It was her friend from work was getting married.
Okay.
And the wedding was in Tulum, Mexico, where his parents had moved. So his family had gone from India to Toronto to Tulum.
The natural progression.
The natural 1, 2, 3. I
Yeah.
actually think San Diego was also in the middle there. And that wedding was fucking, like, the wedding in Lebanon was really fun, and that was also a kind of rich wedding. This was like a level of rich where you were like, holy shit. Like, the groom's sister was a Toronto DJ who was an influencer who had fucked Drake, was like her, like, everyone was like, she fucked Drake. And I'm like, does that just happen if you're an influencer in Toronto? Like,
yeah. I think if you're a woman in Toronto,
yeah,
that
if you just
happens.
spend enough time in Toronto, Drake comes by. But like, that was another wedding where I was just overall, the main conclusion I've had from these two experiences is white weddings need to step up their fucking game in a huge way. White weddings suck.
Yeah.
At this point in my life, I now realize white weddings are absolutely, they're trash compared to other weddings. They're just not as fun.
Here's the thing about a white wedding.
Yeah.
All you have to do is play September. The stakes are so low.
All you have to do is play September.
That's all you got to do. You don't have to do much more than that. Have prime rib, play
Have
September.
prime rib, play September. Yeah, that's
What
fair.
else are we doing
I don't know.
here?
You got to have a little "Come On Eileen" in there. If there's not a sprinkling of "Come On Eileen" at a white wedding, I will say at the Indian wedding and the Lebanese
Did you
wedding,
just say if there isn't
no
a
"Come On
sprinkle
Eileen."
of come on Eileen?
If there's not a little zhuzh of "Come On Eileen," I'm not enjoying the white wedding
Okay.
as much. It's not a white wedding without a little zhuzh of "Come On Eileen."
no,
Dude, there was a band at this Lebanese wedding. I couldn't understand a single word they were saying,
Well,
and it was
it's
the greatest
Lebanese.
performance I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, it was but like it was the greatest performance I had ever seen in my life, and I didn't understand a single word. And then I go to like a white wedding, and I understand every single word of every single song, and I'm just like, I don't know. I'm drinking to make it more fun. You know what I mean? There's an energy at non-white weddings that are just way better.
The energy is good. The energy is better. What do you think we need to do? Do we have to start incorporating different things? We definitely need more spices involved.
Dude, it definitely food-wise. Food-wise,
We gotta step it up.
Like,
Jack.
as much as I love Antonio's Pizzeria and Lombardi's Pizzeria and D'Angelo's Pizzeria and every other goddamn place that's catered a wedding in New Jersey that I've been to,
Yep.
it's just not as good. It's not as I've had enough ziti in my life. Do you know what I mean? That I don't need it at a wedding at this point.
You're hitting on like every topic me and Hardy discussed.
Really?
We've
Seriously?
talked about ziti.
You talked about ziti?
Jack, have you noticed something?
What?
Last time you went to an Italian restaurant, you see
Yeah.
ziti on the menu?
No.
What happened?
I've thought about this in a way. When I think of ziti, I think about it on like a paper plate at a pool party next to a cheeseburger.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
That's not how I imagined
Really?
ziti.
I've like most of the ziti I've had in my life is at like a middle school function. Or like a pool party middle school fun where ziti is combined with things that shouldn't be combined with ziti.
Interesting.
Like it's a buffet and I'm a fat kid, so I have a cheeseburger, a hot dog, and I have some ziti.
That was common.
You know what I mean? That
was
like
really
I have had a
common.
lot of hot dogs that have a little brush of vodka sauce
Yes.
on them in my life, which is good. Like I don't look back on that negatively at all. Like,
That's a very tri-state thing. Having
dude, having like an overcooked cheeseburger with a zhuzh of vodka sauce on it. I'm using zhuzh now, but with a zhuzh of vodka sauce on the cheeseburger, that's a very tri-state afternoon in August of 2007.
But we all grew up on ziti. We grew up on ziti like babies grow up on formula.
Yeah,
in the tri-state.
yeah, dude.
But you can't find it anywhere.
You really can't. That's a great point. Well, because don't people just call it? This isn't true, but in my head, like it's like penne alla vodka is what people essentially used to call ziti.
Penne alla vodka was not around as a kid.
No,
Penne alla
no
vodka
one
came
definitely
around.
ever called it that.
Definitely
for
it-
sure not.
It's only been around for like 10 years. Penne alla vodka.
Has it really?
We're gonna have to call.
That might be true.
We're gonna have to call a historian, but I'm pretty sure. Like it just hasn't been around. But ziti was everywhere.
Ziti was absolutely goddamn everywhere.
Everywhere.
Every christening, every bar mitzvah, every pool party, every like ziti was always. It was a side salad. It was like the side salad of the mid 2000s.
Ziti, all ziti is the potato salad of Italy.
Is it the potato salad of Italy or of like Suffolk and Union County?
Yeah, maybe.
You know what I mean? like
Italy's not doing
those
that.
two
Yeah.
things. I don't think Italy's doing it, but like, I don't know. You probably have a shared experience with me where like I grew up borderline Italian. Like in like my
We all
town.
did.
Like I grew up like I know I have like rules in my life that are just from Italian dads yelling at me, and then I like just have them. You know what I mean? Like,
same thing. We're all a little Jewish. We're all a little Italian.
We're all a little Jewish, and we're all a little Italian.
Yes.
I know so many Jewish words from growing up.
I didn't realize, especially now at the company I'm at now, I use Yiddish every day, and no one knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And that blew my mind.
Really?
Yeah.
Because people don't know. Like, when I went to school in Wisconsin, like schmutz, you got a little schmutz.
Yeah.
Like that kind of shit. I was called a yenta growing up a lot. That was like...
I know what that means, but I wasn't really...
I was called it... Well, I used to pick up my friends. When I was a kid, I used to have my friends' homes, I'd pick up their phones. Like,
oh, really?
So their phones would ring. I'd be like, it's the Schneider residence, and it would just be me.
Oh,
so
really?
They all called me a yenta because it means being in other people's business. I don't know why I did that, but that was just something I did.
They didn't ask you to do it?
No, I just was a prick. So, like, if a phone was ringing, I found it funny to, like, pick up their phones and be like, hi, it's Jack.
That is pretty funny.
Like, the secretary for, like, the Schneider family, which, like, lived down the street from me.
Yeah, they're currently at lunch. Can I take a message?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they'll be here in a moment. I remember my friend's dad got really pissed at me for doing that.
Interesting.
And threw me out of his house. That's a big Jersey thing. I don't know if that happens in other parts of the country, but I got taken by the cops.
Oh, that happens.
Physically tossed out of a house.
Yeah, it usually happens with your own parents in other parts of the country.
Yeah, but no.
Yeah, not with the friends.
But I did have shit. Like, when I went to Wisconsin, I got in trouble for shit that, like, only flew in hindsight, probably in my hometown. Like, I remember, like, there was a kid and in Wisconsin, and his name was like Rosenberg, and I'm like, oh, he's probably Jewish, and everyone's like, how can you just assume that? And I was like, his name's Rosenberg.
What was his first name?
Like David.
That's a Jew.
You know what I mean?
Big
but
Jew.
Like, they don't know that that's what that means. We also had kids in my school, and they're my friend. Like, I'm still friends with some of them.
Of course.
But they called themselves, like, their friend group was called the Jews. And they referred to themselves as the Jews.
The phone.
I swear to God.
You can't just do that.
They did it. I didn't do it. It'd be different if my friend group was like, oh, look, it's the Jews. We didn't do that. They self-identified as like, on Instagram, the Jews hanging out. Like, they did that. So, like, very normal conversations growing up in my home. We're like, Jack, you hanging out with the Jews? Yeah, I'm going to see there's a party at the Jews.
You're making it sound...
It sounds so bad, but it just was what it was. It sounds so bad.
You make it sound like they're the Beatles, like they don't go anywhere without each other.
They didn't in high school. I went to a very small high school.
Okay.
My high school had 150 kids in my class.
How many were in the Jews?
The Jews probably had like a solid 20.
Hold on!
The Jews had a solid 20 kids.
Did you go to fucking Auschwitz High where you just corralled the Jews?
Again, we didn't this was all them. No one was corralling anything.
I mean, this kind of sounds like Auschwitz.
I can name them. I literally
don't name them, Jack. Jesus Christ, don't name them.
I know how bad it sounds, but literally, like, looking back, it's so bad now. But like they called themselves the Jew. That's what they named their friend group. My friend group was called the B Team. Because
wait, what?
I don't know why we named.
First of all, why do all the crews have names?
I don't know.
What are you in Greece?
I didn't go to high school in West Side Story.
Yeah, what the hell are we talking about here?
Like, we all had names. I don't know why we called ourselves the B Team, but it was actually because, God, these sentences sound so bad now. Because the Jews threw all the parties. They had the best party houses.
Okay.
So like they threw all the parties, and like they had all the parties, and my friend group was only invited to like the big ones. So like they were throwing parties every weekend, and they would invite us when it was like your New Year's, your Halloween, your 4th of July. So we called ourselves the B Team because we were called up to the parties when they needed us, when they needed to fill out the house.
So how you guys went about forming your groups is mind-blowing to me.
And then we fought by dancing at each other. We didn't, but it'd be so funny.
Well, no, they just danced in a circle and lifted one in a chair, but...
But that is true.
Because usually...
It was, Rich, it was so normal at the time, and now looking back, Jack, like, I can't say that.
Jack, it wasn't.
It was, dude.
We grew up at the same exact time. Let me tell you something.
In my town, it was normal... Look, that's what they called themselves, and we called ourselves the B Team.
Usually when you make groups of friends, you do it by common traits, like common interest, and you do things like that.
Yeah.
How your town formed friend groups was by racial identity and by your social status of parties. You guys didn't. It sounds like you didn't really know each other. It sounds like
honest, it was just the Jews.
No, you're the B team,
right? But we weren't like the Irish. You know what I mean? Like,
no, but you're for because you in the social status. You guys were you friends before then, or were you like, oh, the guys?
We were friends before them, and we were very friendly with the Jews. We were very tight with them. It sounds so. I can't even say it now because it sounds so bad coming out of my mouth.
You sound like you grew up in like East LA.
I know. Literally, as I'm saying, because I haven't talked about this in a while, it feels like poison coming out of my mouth. But this is how we talked about it in high school. It just felt so normal at the time, and it wasn't derogatory. It was just like that's what their friend group was, and we were the B team. I don't think anyone else called us the B team, but we called ourselves the B team.
I'm dying to know what were the other groups.
To be honest, I think those were really the only two groups. I think we were the only two that named ourselves.
There's only 2 groups in the whole school?
I told you, there was only 100 kids in my class, so it was like...
Well, there's 20 of you guys and 20 Jews. You got 100 kids left.
But that's why we were closely associated with the Jews. Like, we were friends with them. So, like, it kind of was one giant group in a way. And then we were just called up for, like, the lower parties. Other groups might have had names, but I wasn't aware or informed of them.
Yeah, they definitely had names.
They probably did have names.
Because that's why you guys were brought up, because another group couldn't make it.
I definitely probably said the Italian kids at one point. There was a lot of that.
How small were these parties where 150... There were like 300 kids at the parties I went to in high school.
300 kids?
At some parties.
Jesus Christ. See, that's the thing. My high school, the most you would have at a party, say the B team's called up. Say the B team's called up for like a New Year's party. That's like the biggest party you would have. Probably like 50 kids. Maybe.
That's nothing.
It's nothing compared to high schools. Every other high school I knew was having like Project X going on in their high school.
We had a few of those.
We didn't have there was no infrastructure for it. Like in like no one had a house big enough. Like one girl had like a pretty big house with a pretty big basement, and she had a lot of parties.
Oh, you're doing basement parties.
We're doing a lot of basement parties.
A lot of basement
What
parties,
are your parties? Not basement parties?
Backyard parties. Really whole
How
house
the fuck
parties.
are you getting backyard parties
Yeah.
without cops busting it?
Live space. The rich kids do the parties.
Dude, we had so many parties busted in high school. The cops threatened to have us not walk at graduation.
That's a very common threat.
We had that a lot.
Yeah.
Because the houses in my town are too close together. So like no matter what was going on, like every party was broken up by the cops. Like we couldn't throw a party without it being broken up by the cops. So like going in the backyard was completely insane. We had to hide in the basement all the time.
The life cycle of a high school party is about 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. You have the pregame, then the actual party.
Yeah.
The actual party is about 20 minutes.
Right, before people start just like making out and going home. Is it like,
and then there's the blast text goes out.
what's the blast text?
Where it's like, yo, it's just me, Jack, and the B team hanging out. Come through.
Right.
Well, then they told others, and then those kids told others. Now all of a sudden,
it becomes way too big a party.
It
And then
becomes
whoever
a bigger
house
party.
it is like, nope. Like someone gets pissed by the end of it.
yes.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm trying to think. I mean, we had one girl in my high school whose like parents. Did you have like any houses where you were like, this might not be a good situation, but the parties rock?
Yeah.
Like there was that.
Uh-huh.
Like I don't know if this is healthy, but I'm happy to be here.
Yes.
Like we had that. Like that was, I remember that was a consistent space. And then besides that, really, there was not a lot. If someone threw a party, it'd be like, holy shit. Like you're throwing, okay, let's do it. And then it would get busted by the cops, inevitably.
I remember one party. I might have brought this up on the podcast before. This girl, cheerleader, year older. We beat Farmingdale, Jack, and beat Farmingdale.
Fucking Farmingdale, dog.
Dude, we didn't beat Farmingdale in 40 years. My buddy cried. And he was like, the last time we beat Farmingdale was my dad's team, and now I'm beating Farmingdale. Like, it was a lot. It was very emotional.
Farmingdale was our New Prov. We beat New Providence. We beat New Providence my sophomore year of high school, and it was like a huge fucking deal.
Well, your high school coach was a big deal.
My high school coach was a big deal.
That's right.
You knew that. Have we talked about that?
Yeah.
Coach
Last time
George?
you were on.
Oh, we talked about
Yeah,
Coach
and then
George?
he left, like,
and then
immediately.
He completely did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a big deal. And it was a big deal to beat New Providence because we didn't have a football team for 20 years. So
Right.
it must have been like 30 years. We're about to not have a football team again, apparently.
That's fun.
Because Coach George left. So now,
Again.
Yeah. He went back to like whatever the biggest high school in New Jersey is to like win more
like
state
Don
championships.
Bosco or something like
He's,
that.
or like St. Peter's or something.
St. Peter's.
I don't know.
Yep.
But you beat Farmingdale.
So we beat Farmingdale. Holly Roselle comes out, and she goes party at my house. Now, Holly Roselle lives across the street from John Gotti. Big house.
Wow.
Big house.
Okay.
So we go in. She's like, no, we're going to start off in the basement for the party.
Yeah.
We get there. Floor to ceiling, all 4 walls, Confederate memorabilia.
Fucking.
And I was like, what the hell is going on? From floor, it's like an insane amount of Confederate memorabilia.
Can I be honest? I've never heard of that. Like, we had a couple Nazis in town. Like, there was one guy on my friend's street where you drove past his house, and he always had his garage door open, and there was a giant fucking Nazi flag.
Really?
In the garage, like a swastika. But I've never heard of someone going... Like, that's like where racists usually go to. You know what I mean? Like, I've never heard of Confederate memorabilia being
Confederate
built up in
memorabilia.
a house.
Like a museum's worth. I was like, you should donate some of this.
Like, it was kind of impressive.
Yeah, it was like a lot.
Yeah,
I was like, wow, is this authentic? And they're like, yeah, we still have the tag on it. So I'm like, what's going on here? Her mom from Tennessee.
Okay.
So she was like, so that's what's
So
going on.
So that fully explains it.
And I was like, thank
So
God.
that's the end of the story.
It was the first time that you could say, thank God we don't have any black kids here.
Yeah, the first time the party was better.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, thank God, huh?
Wow. Floor to ceiling Confederate memorabilia.
It was a lot.
That's pretty fucking impressive.
Yeah.
We didn't have that. I'm trying to think. We had some rich kids. I think the most notable, the owner of the Vikings lived in my town for some reason.
The owner of the Vikings?
I don't know his name. The Wolf family.
Sure.
They lived in Springfield. They had their own street. They had like
What does that mean?
Like they had a street. Like if you were driving down the road, I forget what road it was, but there was
Wolf
like a
Street.
You were driving down Mountain Avenue in Springfield, New Jersey, and there was like a gate, and you could see a long road going down, and their house was somewhere back there. And I don't know why the hell they were in Springfield, New Jersey, but they were in Springfield, New Jersey.
Okay.
And that was probably the richest family in our town. But I don't think they had Confederate memorabilia. I don't know.
Well, you never went to the basement.
I never went. They never threw a party there.
No.
That wasn't allowed. Which I don't understand why. He was probably in Minnesota most of the time. You know what I mean? Like, throw one.
Yeah,
Like, your dad's,
dude,
like,
seriously.
like on a Sunday, your dad's not going to be there. Like, let's.
Well,
fucking
growing
go.
up, the Vikings were not that good, so.
Yeah, they weren't that
Yeah,
good.
what are you gonna do?
She also didn't go to his daughter did not go to my school. She went to some private school.
Private.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But we actually had, like, my town was literally split up between, like, on the bottom of my town is where I lived and all the other plebeians lived. And then we had a hill, and that's where all the rich people lived. And they all lived on the hill. And in between my area of town and the hill was Baltusrol Golf Course, which is where they've had, like, U.S. Opens and PGA Championships and stuff. If you look at a map of Springfield, New Jersey, 80% of it is Baltusrol Golf Course.
Okay.
So, like, it's like a weird, like, literal divide between rich and not rich. Just like it's a golf course is the line.
You just described the concept of Greek mythology.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. There was one road that led to the rich area. It was called Mount View Road, and you would go up, and then the houses all of a sudden were huge, and everything was nicer.
And yeah, and there was Zeus lived up there.
And Zeus lived up there.
Yeah.
And someone in their basement had Stonewall Jackson's sword just taped to a wall or whatever the fuck.
Yep.
I don't know.
That's
But
fun.
It was cool. I had, like, looking back, it was an interesting town to grow up in. Like, I definitely can't say the Jews anymore, but
Well, you can just.
there's
gotta be a lot of context.
No one's gonna pat me on the back for doing it at this point and hand me a Natty Light and go, let's play Flip Cup. But that's what it was at the time.
Listen.
2011.
We just gotta get the boys back in Springfield.
Oh, dude, I don't think the boys are in Springfield.
Good.
Are any of the boys still in Springfield? I don't think any of the boys are still in Springfield.
What about the Jews?
No, they're long gone.
Jews are out.
They're here. I see them at comedy shows.
Oh, really?
Yeah, all the time. Zach
nice.
Kadish. Shout out Zach Kadish.
Shout out Zach.
Shout out Zach Kadish. I saw him at a comedy show a couple years ago.
Just like in the audience?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
At Climate.
No way.
He was sitting in
What
the
a
back.
fucking idiot.
He lived in the Ukrainian village, and he was in Climate for like one of Jeff's shows or something.
What an idiot.
I know.
God, those shows. We were talking about those shows. God, Tom's
Really?
been helping us at Stone Street. So we were talking about those were wild shows.
Wild shows. I hosted a lot of those shows.
Yeah.
And it was like, I mean, they were free tickets for some of them, so there was like heroin
for all of
addicts
them.
in
I
the front
found
row.
out.
Yeah. Some of them were like, and I didn't know how to host at the time, nor did I know really how to do a show
or deal with heroin addicts.
I kind of had only done open mics pretty much up until that point,
Yep.
and then I was like, do a crowd work with a heroin addict. I'm like, does it hurt? Like, I didn't know what the fuck. I had no idea. Like, it was so overwhelming, some of those shows. Apologize to Jeff for not really hosting those shows that well, but that was intense. I don't know.
He didn't put you in a good situation.
No, not necessarily.
No.
I do miss that room, though. That was a fun little space.
It was good for what it was.
It was good for what it was.
Yeah, no.
It was nostalgia mostly.
You know what I love about a white wedding, Jack?
Tell me about that, Rich.
A white wedding.
That it sounds good in a chorus.
It sounds fantastic in a hook.
Yeah.
This is what I love about a white wedding. And this is what Indian and assuming Lebanese people are not doing. You don't come out of an Indian wedding
Yeah.
and there's just a fucking McDonald's food truck right there.
You've seen a McDonald's food truck?
Yeah, dude, you're not doing food trucks after weddings? That's the
I'm doing
thing
food
now.
trucks, but a McDonald's food truck?
That's just the first thing that came
Oh,
to my mind.
I was like,
yeah.
oh, goddamn, that's a new thing that we should definitely get fucking going.
Taylor Schmidt. Do you remember Taylor
Yeah, I
Schmidt?
know Taylor.
Taylor Schmidt gets married. You know what? He's got a Japanese taco truck.
That's nice.
Yeah.
You know what? That is a nice thing about modern...
Indian people are doing that.
No, I mean, they're catering some of the best food in the world, but you're right. I can't, like, go up and get, like, a lobster roll from a truck.
That's what I'm saying.
That's kind of shit that I do like. I haven't been... It's honestly, at this point, I've probably been to more non-white weddings than white weddings, which is crazy. Have you hit the wedding thing yet? Like the wave in your life of weddings?
I got a whole bunch coming up.
Do you really?
Oh yeah.
That hasn't hit me yet.
But I'm seeing it bubble. Like
You're seeing
in
it
November,
start?
I got May and Mark.
Okay.
On a Thursday in New Orleans.
Damn.
And
that's going to be a great wedding.
You
though.
gotta go to the wedding.
Dude, you're going to May and Mark's with that.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good time.
That's gonna be
and then we're flying back, me and the lady, and going. My buddy's getting married at Yale.
Okay. Wow.
On that Saturday.
Those are two like fucking kind of killer weddings.
Killer wedding
At
two
Yale?
very different demographics.
I imagine. Is Yale a Long Island, buddy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hell
yeah.
I've never been to a Long Island wedding. What's that like?
I've been to two. Two of my friends got married on Long Island.
Okay.
Here's the thing about a Long Island wedding.
Tell me what's the
Well,
thing about
these
the Long
two
Island?
guys are going to be exceptions because they were A+ weddings.
Okay.
But usually with a Long Island wedding,
Yeah.
the food is amazing.
I can imagine. Yeah.
But it's a lot of family picture time because everyone's parents are divorced.
There's a lot of people need to be separated a lot at a Long Island wedding.
It's a lot of like, all right, and now the bride's mom
And
with the picture,
and the stepmom, and is Gary here?
yeah, one of them doesn't go by the title.
No,
which
one-
was a problem at one of them.
Oh, for sure. You always have the one that doesn't go by the title. Gary, Phil, like one of those.
Can we have Jen's dad and Martha? It's a lot of that.
We're looking for Mrs. Petrilla and also Phil. Is Phil around?
Oh, you want something that did happen? It was at Bethpage Golf Course. My buddy John
Dude,
Roach.
Family Feud #1 answer for where a Long Island wedding is.
Bethpage Golf Course. Beautiful wedding. And everything was A+. Happy hour. Cocktail hour. We get into the room. They're doing the best man speeches.
Mm-hmm.
Best man goes up. All of a sudden, you hear a gigantic crash in the back. Why? The photographer drank during the whole happy hour, and he fell into the food coming out.
Fucking really?
And like a week later, we found out he never took any pictures.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, that sounds like my parents' wedding. They talk about that. My mom hired as her photographer her wedding her brother. And he showed up and videoed the entire wedding and never had tape in the camera.
That was a big night. Wait, what?
Never had tape in the camera. Went around with like a video camera the whole wedding, waved to the camera, forgot to put a tape in, just wasn't recording any of it. And that was, my mom's from Long Island. That was a Long Island wedding.
Where in Long Island's your mom from?
And she's from Comac.
I think you brought this up.
Yeah,
you brought this up
she's
before.
Suffolk County, Comac, and that was a Long Island wedding. And there was a lot of. She also said the band. They walked in on the band just ripping cocaine in the bathroom during.
I think
their
that's
wedding.
just a wedding band.
That's probably just a wedding thing, but it was a nice just a Long Island party band wedding moment.
Yeah.
And then also it was the day of.
And it was Billy Joel actually.
And actually it was Billy Joel. He was working at. That's how he wrote Uptown Girl. He just got really hyped and was hanging out with people from the city for the first time. But like, yeah, it was that, and then it was also the day of like the Duke. My parents' wedding was the day of what that famous Duke shot in the NCAA fight. I forget what it is, but like the wedding had to get stopped so all the dudes could just like watch the Duke game. It was very Long Island in that way.
That sounds about right, though.
Yeah, it was kind of right down the middle. I like the idea of the photographer straight up falling and getting
Fell
drunk
into into the plates of food.
Did they kick him out or did he try?
Yeah,
to
kicked him out.
Really?
Yeah, but they thought they at least got the
He didn't take any
garden pictures and everything like that.
On fucking Craigslist?
I think it was a referral.
It was a referral?
I think it was a referral. I would have to ask, but I'm pretty sure it was because I think his sister used them.
Huh. Interesting.
I think. And this was like a new guy
Yeah.
who joined.
I
I'm
get
pretty
that.
sure that's what he had a drone too. I remember. I was like, this guy fucking.
Dude, if you don't have a drone at this point.
And this was like 2018, 2019.
Oh, this
like,
is when drones
really
were
before
new.
drones.
Right. Back when drones were just a thing you read in the New York Times.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then he had the little drones.
Yeah, just back when drones were used by Obama.
Yeah, back when drones were like, ooh, and then drones became like a fun thing your friends do in the park. Drones became a way to like videograph your softball game and to post it on Instagram with a cool angle.
That's one thing white weddings really did well in the
What's
80s
up?
and 90s. What your uncle was trying to do. Go table to table, couple by
Right.
couple, and video them.
And just have just like a bunch of angles of just couples waving at a table.
Oh.
Just a lot of like grandmas waving with a cigarette in their hand.
Yes.
That is nice.
You're not going to get that again.
By the way, oh wait, this is another thing that happened to me in Lebanon. So like when I'm gonna connect these two, I promise. When everyone smokes cigarettes in Lebanon.
Yeah.
That has not.
It's what it
it
is.
is complete. And I had a moment where I was sitting with all my friends, and I for the week smoked cigarettes because I was like, I'm gonna smoke
Well,
cigarettes.
when
for the
in
week.
Rome, you know?
I'm just gonna do that. And it wasn't the wedding, but I was sitting around a table. We had just had lunch, and I was with like all of my friends' old aunts, like women in their like 80s.
That's fun.
And we were all smoking cigarettes, digesting our lunch, and I'm like, this I want.
That's what life is.
This is what happened in the 90s. Like
Yes.
sitting around a table with a bunch of women in their 80s telling stories while you smoke a cigarette. The fact that as society we've completely given that up, and I understand why, but that's what I think about when you talk about like video camming those like tables of just like all old woman with like the blonde hair that's like weirdly blonde, like,
Yes.
like that white blonde fro kind of thing.
Yeah,
that
no one
every
really knew it, like a beehive.
no one really knew where that
no one
color
knew what was
came
going
from.
on
It was
there.
like it got dyed like 5 years ago, but it was never re-upped.
Yes.
So
yes,
it's
yes,
like
yes.
there, and everyone's just ripping cigarettes in the 90s, telling stories about Astoria in the 30s, and like those are the tables I want to sit at.
Yes.
Those are the like with the little like white toily kind. You know what I mean?
And Jack,
The-
there's like
the
a
white
bubbling.
toily.
Everyone's like bubbling because they want to take the centerpiece. That's a big thing
They
with
want-
white weddings. You want to take the centerpiece, and everyone wants it, but no one says they want it.
No one says they want
But
it.
they're waiting to see who
They
goes
wait.
for it.
They wait until the part of the wedding where like the shirts are unbuttoned, people are dancing, because they're also the first to leave. The old aunts are the first to
Yes.
leave. So while everyone's kind of getting to the real drunk phase on the dance floor, the old aunts can kind of sneak away with a little bouquet.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Which
that's
is nice.
prime centerpiece time.
It's just I do long for like you remember what like your grandma's house smelled like that like
depending on
that,
the
like-
side of the family. Yes.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But like the World War II generation grandma house. That like I want to smoke a cigarette in that house so badly, and I never got the opportunity to. They all died long before my cigarette. I don't even smoke cigarettes, but like that moment I had in Lebanon, I was like, this. I miss this. I missed listening to a story in this way, and I like this a lot.
I don't. I hate to break it to you. You could do it here.
I know I get, but they're all dead.
No, just go to Astoria. They're all hanging outside.
They're also there, yeah, like a couch with like plastic wrap on it. You know, like
a couch. With
do you know what I mean?
plastic
That
wrap,
couch with like
Jack.
the plastic thing. Oh man, that's home, baby.
That is home.
That is home.
You couldn't burn it.
No, you.
No matter how hard you tried. It was the most inflammable thing in the
It
world.
was the most inflatable thing, but you just couldn't do it.
You couldn't do it.
And
The
if
plastic didn't even melt.
if you ever took it off, you would know what air smelled like when like Nixon got impeached. Like that's the air that was like trapped in there. It was like air from like 1975. That plastic was never removed. I never saw one of those things cleaned.
Do you think that's what's clogging up the oceans?
It's the couch plastic.
It's couch
It's
plastic?
the World War II generation died, and all their couch plastics were thrown out.
Is out in the ocean. It's not straws. Why do we gotta get rid of straws? It's
No, we're talking
Boomer's
about
couch plastic.
talking about giant couches full of plastic from all the way down the eastern seaboard. I don't know if they had them in other parts of the country, but every single grandma house I fucking went to in my life had the couch plastic.
Isn't that wild how much our generation hates plastic and how much their generation
Was just like put it on everything.
Put it on my furniture.
They had a theory that the plastic can get dirty and that's okay, but as long as the couch doesn't. Like tables were covered in plastic.
It made no sense.
Like the wood never got dirty, and that's I guess what counted in their minds. But that plastic had about 3-inch layers of dust and cigarette ash, and it was fine to them as long as the table itself never had a scratch on it. Which, you know what, I respect that. I think that's cool.
It's why they taxidermied couches.
They
It was like, why? Why are you freezing this in time?
They kind of like Captain America every couch.
Yeah.
That they had. They took like every couch from 1950 and just preserved it for 60 years for no reason.
They made every living room sound like the NBA.
Every time you sat down, it was just like squeak, 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 squeak. But then when you spilled your fucking martini that you've had every year of your life for 50 years on it, it just slid right off.
Well, when you have 6 a night, you know it's going to happen.
Right, exactly. And then it slides off into the rug that was always about 2 inches thick and just kind of sat there for a while, which was nice. This is bringing me back. It's nice.
That was another thing for that generation. There was no hardwood floors.
No.
Every floor was carpet.
Was a carpet.
Everything.
Every floor was carpet and every wallpaper had a flower on it. A lot of floral wallpapers, which are coming back now.
Are they?
I've been told.
I haven't seen wallpaper since...
I haven't seen wallpaper in a long time.
All that was
but I
on.
remember I said that to someone in my family, and they're like, they're coming back now. I don't know if that's true or not.
Okay, I'll take your word
But
for
every
it.
wallpaper I ever saw growing up in a grandma's house had, like, floral wallpaper.
Interesting.
Like, yeah, in a pattern in some way.
Yeah, I had it.
Yeah, it was like that. But I don't know. I kind of miss those couches. I miss just doing the little, like, before you sit down, and then that's kind of the extent of how you ever clean those.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
This is more for your parents, but we could also go grandparents,
Sure, go
even if
ahead.
you want to go great-grandparents. You had a couch. You had pillows on that couch.
Yeah.
What did you do with the pillows?
When you sit,
Yeah.
I think we just sit on them. My family wasn't a big like removing and putting pillows back on family. I had a few friends' families that were big like the beds especially had like 14 layers of pillows.
Yep.
And then when you actually sleep on them, it takes like 5 minutes to remove them.
Mm-hmm.
I knew a lot of families like that, but we were not that family. We were also a very low pillow percentage family on a couch. One on each corner. That's all we had.
That's enough.
One added pillow on each corner was all we had.
Okay.
So it kind of like was very seamless to sit down. Why did you guys have like?
We had throw pillows on the couches.
You
Still
would
do to
throw
this
pillows
day.
on the couches?
And Jack.
I thought a throw pillow was for like a bed.
Jack. We had 4 throw pillows on one couch, 2 on another. And if you even thought of using that pillow, oh, God help you. To this day,
Really?
you cannot.
So those were
Use
pillows
the
that
pillow.
before you sit down, you have to remove every single pillow.
You got it. There's a corner between those 2 couches that is filled with pillows.
Because that's just where they're stuffed.
That's where they're supposed to go.
That's where they have to go
Because you
stuffed.
can't sit on them.
Otherwise, what? The ghost of your grandma comes back and hits you with the chicken parmesan?
That's what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mom's like, these aren't like...
I don't think I've ever heard of a throw pillow on a couch.
That's...
Like, I've heard a lot of
That's
throw
what we're
pillows on
doing.
beds, but you would throw a pillow on a couch?
Yeah, throw pillows on
Unless
a couch.
I'm losing my
You
mind.
couldn't use the throw pillows at all because they were decorative pillows and they had to stay plump.
Yeah.
But my dog could jump on the couches and rip up the entire thing.
And do whatever it wanted.
That was fine.
That was fine.
Right,
'cause it was a
but
dog.
don't you even think.
About touching the throw pillows.
No, yeah, that's
Did you have the one book that's out on the Ottoman for 30 years?
Jack, books. So I don't know if you know, I have a book right there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to read a chapter a day now. That's
nice.
my thing.
That's a good thing.
It's a good goal.
That'll get you
I'm
somewhere.
close to it. I was raised to think people that read books think they're better than everyone.
Yeah. I love that.
So if you walk into my house
with a
to
book,
this day, you will not see a book.
really?
No one reads a book. My dad still to this day, he's 57 years old. He has never read a book cover to cover.
I remember my parents attempted book reading in the mid 2000s and then stopped completely.
My dad, oh, you're not from New York. You had to take the English Regents. Like the New York State has,
Okay. Yeah.
for every subject, you have to take a test in high school. My dad never read a book, so he just made up a book on the New York State
Really?
English test.
He
Apparently
made-
did pretty well.
That's fucking genius.
Yeah.
I spent my entire career bullshitting essays. That's
Yeah.
the only thing. I was an English major in high school and college and never learned a single goddamn fucking thing.
No.
I became so good at bullshitting essays that like I could tell you what grade I was going to get the second I handed it in. I could tell you exactly what grade I was going to get because I learned that in college especially, everything's graded by TAs and TAs just read the same shit over and over and over and over. So if you just come up with the most batshit crazy argument in an essay, they'll give you an A just because they're like, it's unique.
different.
It's different. I argued a bunch of people were Satanists. That was my big move.
Oh, okay.
In English class, like whenever book we read from like the 1600s, I'd be like, I think they're arguing for Satan here. And they'd be like, there's no evidence for that, but that's interesting. And then they'd give me an A. It was fucking, I learned how to do it down to a science. Just say they're Satanists.
That was your
That was my
go-to.
big move because a lot of the books we were reading were from like 1800s, 1700s, 1600s. So it was all like a lot of religious allegory and shit. Like I had to read like the Canterbury Tales and all that kind of crap. And it's all like very, very religious. So if you just argue it's an argument for Satanism and they're doing it subtly so they're not prosecuted by the church at the time, you're getting an A.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And
It's
your
the egg you
school
just
was
gotta
so
taste.
big.
Huge.
That you'll never have the same TA twice.
No, I was just a number.
Yeah.
I'm just a number handed in shit. I did the same thing. I was an English major with an emphasis in creative writing. There is not a more useless
you just
major.
never wanted to make money.
There is not a more I don't know what the fuck I'm doing major than you can have than an English major with an emphasis in creative writing. I read stories and then we had to write short stories.
What was the plan there?
There was no plan there.
Okay.
The plan was I don't think I understood money or debt at the time.
Yep.
I don't think any 18-year-old does, but I don't know. And I liked my creative writing class. We just like sat there and like, oh, I can just make shit up. Okay, that's a fun class. You can't go wrong. I wrote a story about. I remember the first story I wrote in college was about a guy who just got hammered with Jesus. That Jesus came to a bar and he just got drunk with Jesus.
Okay.
And the teacher gave me an A because he was like, everyone else is trying to write like a really depressing story about like death. And I was like, I'm 18. I don't know what death is. So I'm going to write a story about a guy drinking with Jesus. And it wasn't deep at all. It was just Jesus being like, look at the holes in my hand. Isn't that nuts? Like, it was that shallow.
Oh, so
But
they
it
were
got
also
me
on
an A.
mushrooms.
Yeah, well, I definitely was on mushrooms at the time. At the time, I was smoking weed with 3 hands. So I probably was just like making up fucking the craziest shit in the world. Dude, I had to write a novel for my thesis. And I didn't. But I wrote a thing that lasted 200 pages.
You wrote a 200-page novel?
I wrote a series of words that lasted 200 pages.
What was it about?
It was called The Pine Barrens, and it was about the Pine Barrens are an area in New Jersey, which you probably know, where the mob buries bodies. So I wrote a story about how when the mob bodies are buried in the woods, their souls are then reincarnated into these little things that look like Smurfs. And they live in the woods, and they're little lights, and they only come out at night, and they see the stars, and they think the stars are other versions of them, so they spend their whole lives every night trying to build a ladder to reach the stars. And they're called the Levi's because they lived in the genes of all the dead mob members. And it made no fucking sense, but it lasted 200 pages. I got it to last 200 pages.
And what was the grade?
I got an A.
You got an A?
Yeah, of course I got an A. Dude, creative writing's the best because no one can tell you it's wrong. So then you get an A. If you want to get an A in college, just major in creative writing and then really dedicate to whatever it is you're saying.
Okay. Yeah, we don't know how the job's going to work after that
There
point.
are no jobs.
No, yeah,
There's no jobs. Like we would have like our teachers would be the people that theoretically you're trying to become like a short story writer. And they'd come in and their job is teaching you because they don't have a job.
Right.
Like I remember one of our teachers like came in and gave us one of his stories as an example, and it made no fucking. I remember reading this thing and being like, I can't even give you a plot synopsis. It was like a guy sitting. I remember it was like a guy sitting on a porch in the desert, and he kept seeing a shadow get close to him, and then at one point it just ended. Nothing. The shadow never got there. He never nothing happened. But this is this guy's profession, and then he makes money by teaching stoned kids who are writing stories about the ghosts of mob spirits in New Jersey.
Right.
It's like
Smurfs.
there is literally no career. Like there's nowhere to go as a creative writing major other than I guess doing stand-up comedy. But like that's it. It's nothing. It was
or
complete
making
bullshit.
the graphics for the Today Show.
Yeah, or doing the job that actually pays my rent. No qualifications for that one.
No.
None at all. I just learned it, which you learn in life. Most of it's bullshit.
It's just being around it and then being like, I can do it.
Like especially a technical job, you can learn it just by learning it. You can go to school for it and go in debt if you want, but it's there.
You could just show up.
You could just show up. I mean, I went to my job interview with a creative writing major, and they were like, "Do you want to operate a graphics machine?" And I was like, "Yeah, I could probably do that."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And they're like, "Can you work 12 a.m. to 8 a.m.?"
That was the job interview. I worked overnight, so they were like, are you willing to work 1 a.m. to 8 a.m. starting tomorrow? Because the guy before me quit because he was doing a lot of shrooms. That's real. There was a kid who was addicted to shrooms who was the kid before me, and he quit after a week and a half because he was like, this is too early in the morning to do shrooms. So then they called me.
They're like, sir, the graphics are too good.
yeah. He was just staring at the one graphic the whole time, and then they fired him or whatever I don't know what happened. But he didn't put in his 2 weeks, and I had a family member call me who worked there. I did get it through nepotism, and he was like, "Are you willing to work tomorrow on the overnight?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then that's how I got my job. There was no qualifications whatsoever.
Well, how long between you doing that job and your graduation was there?
3 months.
That's good.
Yeah,
that really lucked out.
That it would. I was prepared to work anywhere. I was going around to restaurants just handing in resumes.
Really?
And then but because that was my only qualifications, I worked in a bunch of restaurants. So I was like, I'll just keep working in restaurants. And then that was very lucky. That kid dropped out, and my cousin was like, "We need someone tomorrow." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And it was pretty much, "Are you willing to work overnight shifts?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And that was kind of it. But I remember I was very unprepared because my cousin trained me, which wasn't a thorough training.
Well, it never is.
My first time on air was breaking news for a hurricane, and I had no idea what I was doing. They were just calling. I didn't. The whole job, when you work in news, is learning the language of it, and I didn't know any of the language of it. So they were calling. I didn't know what they were saying. I was getting information. There's you have to know there's a language in news. You need to know what a rundown is. You need to know the way people talk in a control room is a very certain way.
Okay.
So it's kind of you need to know bring in the a director will say things like bring in an upper, change the banner, go to the A block. You need to know that kind of shit.
Okay.
And I didn't know any of that shit. So I was sitting there terrified. Just my banner says there's a hurricane. I'm just going to keep that on air for an hour and a half and not move it. And
even during the commercials, it's still
I
hurricane.
didn't animate it off. I remember I got a lot of information wrong in those early days. I didn't know. And I remember I named Tom Brady as LeBron James once. That was fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
I just didn't know I didn't know that LeBron James was about to show up. I had Tom Brady's name, and I knew that I had that. And I thought they were about to go to an interview with Tom Brady, and it was LeBron James, and I just was like, go out, try. I had no idea
someone's
what I was
bringing
doing.
in the pictures, and then you would bring up the banner and the
someone
and
else
the
is
bottom.
bringing up the pictures, and I have a list of banners. I have a list of graphics. And I know how the order is. At the time, I had no idea what the order was.
Gotcha.
So I was just I was guessing. I was kind of throwing things on air and figuring it out. But it was on the overnight shift, so no one really gave a shit.
Yeah.
It was a show that was watched by 4 construction workers.
Just in a diner.
Yeah, that kind of. It was a show that was on from 4 a.m. to 5:30 a.m.
No one's watching that.
It's a bunch of construction workers and taxi drivers.
Okay.
But it was a great show, and the people were great, and it's how I learned the job. But I like news. It's fun. It's like the restaurant industry in that people can curse each other out and stuff pretty freely. People are honest, and I don't need to wear a button-down shirt. Going back to the fact that I don't own any button-down shirts. Don't own any nice clothes.
You don't have to. You have a sweatshirt?
I live in the dark. Yeah.
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 We all sit in the dark, and then that's it. Some people do dress nicer, but we do mostly just sit in the dark.
How's your eyes in the dark now? Can you just see right through it?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I like
a cat.
the dark like that. It's kind of nice. Like the falling asleep is shitty and the hours like make you really tired, but like the glow of all the screens, it's like if you really want to become addicted to screens, work in a news control room, because it's just TVs everywhere,
right,
all day long. The only illumination is TVs, and it's this weird like technological glow that I've kind of become addicted to.
That's the sun to you.
That's the sun to you. Yeah, exactly. That's the mind fuck. When you leave a control room at like 9 a.m. and you go out into the light, it's your body's destroyed. And that's how you get seasonal depression in all the seasons. And that's how seasonal depression is instilled in you in every single season, because you're like in the dark all night, in the dark, and then you go outside and it's 1 p.m. and you have to go to bed.
Right.
And like it's fucking impossible.
And then you got an open mic at 7.
And then you have an open mic at 7, and then you go straight back to work. Dude, those first opening years of just working the 1 a.m. to 8 a.m. shift, your body feels ways you can't even imagine, like, know it can feel. You're just like, I don't even know. Am I tired? Am I awake? It's fucked up, man. Especially when you're getting out of the subway. I remember I used to get out of the subway at like 9 a.m. when I was off work, and I'd have to go to bed. But this walk from my subway to the apartment in August would be like 95 degrees.
Of course.
And you'd just be dripping sweat trying to sleep. And you're just like, what the fuck? What's going on?
Yeah.
And I'm truly like super grateful I had the job and have the job. But those moments, you're just like, this is fucking, fuck this, man. And then you just...
And then you realize I don't have anything else.
And then I'm a creative writing major.
Yeah.
I have no that's kind of a freeing thing at the age of 28 at this point. Besides comedy, which I don't have qualifications for, I have qualifications for nothing.
No.
It's too late.
Yeah.
Like, I can't go back. Like,
it's over.
It's done.
Yeah.
I know how to do one news job that is going to be completely made irrelevant by machines in 10 years.
Yeah.
And I have a creative writing major in English. Nothing else. So I'm in the deep end. You know what I mean? It's nice just knowing there's nowhere to go.
Right. It's like you can't be anxious because you know the end result.
There's no like, oh, I could be doing this. I could be doing this. I can't be doing anything. I could be bar backing, but that's the only other option I got.
Yeah,
like it's a nice like, like people are like, you ever gonna quit comedy? It's like I got what? It's literally my best option.
Financially, it has the brightest future,
and it has like the lowest success percentage of like pretty much anything, and it is literally the best option I've left because I am not qualified for anything else in this world at this point in time.
That's freeing.
It's very freeing. It's actually really nice to have no other options and just being like, I mean, I'm not going to become a short story writer, and my job is going to become a robot in 10 years. So
we're just hanging out until then.
Yeah, I'm not going back to school. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
There's no going back to school for a business degree or whatever the fuck.
What, are you going to be a physical therapist now?
No.
Fuck that.
And I've also learned, now that I have so much confidence with my job, like, if I need to, I'll just show up somewhere. Like, I don't think it could ever happen again, because it happened when I was 22 that I showed up to a job and just learned it from scratch. I don't think that really happens with 30-year-olds.
Usually not.
But maybe. I don't know. Like flight attendant. Could I just like show up and like become a flight attendant?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean,
Probably.
yeah, that's not that technical.
No, I don't think so. I can like
you can wear a bow tie.
Fish your chicken like all day long.
Yeah.
I knew a flight attendant once. It seemed like the greatest job ever. They just like traveled the country and partied in whatever city they were in and then flew back.
Nothing not to like.
Nothing not to like there.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't know, but it is freeing. It's nice.
Yeah. Oh, we went over.
Oh, did we?
We're good.
Oh, shit. Okay. This was fun, Rich.
It was a great one.
I enjoyed it.
A hot ep.
Was this a hot ep?
This was a hot ep.
I hope so. I hope it was. I had a good time.
Yeah, this was fun. I don't know what the clips. There's too many clips.
Is there too many clips?
There might be too many clips.
That's not a bad problem to have.
It's a great problem to have. It's the opposite of your career.
Right. Exactly.
It's a fantastic problem.
It's too many options, whereas I just have the one.
I want it to be the Jews, but we're gonna have to listen back.
Just make sure there's context.
No.